Well, they did it again. FNAF released a children's activity book and they couldn't help themselves but hide lore inside of it. So I had to do the entire thing and I'll relay the lore I found to you. Because I mean, hell, they literally packed a UV light inside this thing. It came with its own black light, dude. Now, there's no massive name reveals or anything as far as I can find, but there's definitely things worth talking about in here. So, slices, put on your aprons and let's bake ourselves a theory. So, what the hell is Ticket to Fun? Right now, as far as I'm aware, you can only get this off of like Amazon or online bookstores, and I called this an activity book, but I don't think that's incredibly accurate. It's more so a trinket collection. It's actually really cute, and I recommend picking it up, especially if you have younger siblings or anybody who's into collecting trinkets about the series. I mean, it's got like a little FNAF 2 paycheck in it, a couple of Fazbear like tickets that you would win at a game or something, a quote-unquote cutout of the newspaper ad, there's a couple like recipe cards, and that's not all. They've got like, you know, a more physical thing like a little rubber bracelet. They've got like I think this is a sticker. I didn't really go through that, but it didn't have any lore on it, so I put it back. They got a very hefty metal badge, like a pin badge. Like it's actually like, hold on, let me see if I can, let me bang some of the metal on it. Like that's solid. They've got this big old poster, which I didn't see any kind of lore on. And then this like brochure style fold out thing that it's got. Oh, and of course, how could I forget? The crossword. And like I mentioned, its very own UV flashlight. Wow, that looks really cool on camera actually. Whoa. Which, of course, a UV flashlight implies there's lore here. Oh wow, the dungeon was in some kind of swamp. This is a really elaborate floor. Well, time to press on. Wait a minute. A sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Fume. Nice. I still say want to change the channel when suggesting we watch something else, even though I haven't had cable in like years. Some habits are harmless. Others, Fume makes it easier to swap them out. Immediately, I want to be very clear. Fume is not a vape, e-cig, or anything like that. I would not accept a sponsorship from a company creating that. Fume has no vapor, no nicotine, nothing to charge, no harmful chemicals. You simply breathe in natural, non-toxic flavors that satisfy the craving without the downside. One of the nice things about that is that you can use it anywhere. Since there's no charging, vapor, or smoke, there's no restrictions on using it. But the best part about it for me is that this device was made for fidgeting. Between its compact, weighted, spinnable design, the magnetized locking frame, the clicking adjustment, all to their Fume topper, which provides a chewable tip for those with an oral fixation like myself. Over 700,000 people have already added Fume to their daily routine, and I totally get why. It's simple, satisfying, and doesn't come with any of the downsides of smoking or vaping. And right now, if you order the Journey Pack with my code, RYTOAST, you'll get a free Fume topper. So if you've been thinking about changing your habits, this is the perfect first step. Go to tryfume.com/RYTOAST or scan the QR code on screen to grab yours today. Thanks again to Fume for sponsoring today's video. Oh, at least I've got this now. It will help distract me from the terrible swamp that I'm in, but we must press on. Now, I went through this entire package and I only found 2 pieces of lore that seem worth bringing up. Now, I'm only one person, so maybe there's more hidden stuff that I have not found, but rest assured, I don't think we're talking about a security logbook situation. And frankly, both the pieces of lore I found that I think are worthwhile to bring up, I found on these little brochure sections. And that's helped by the fact that as far as I'm aware, the UV only really works on those brochure sections and that crossword I mentioned. Now, look, when I saw a crossword, I immediately thought of the word search from the security logbook because I'm like, well, that had, you know, the name Cassidy, which is pretty definitive. It had the name Dave, which is speculative, but I think is very strong. That word search had so much stuff in it, so this crossword has got to be a ticket to something, right? Maybe. I can't find anything. Let me break this down. If you notice, I've added a lot of boxes to this crossword. It's a little hard to see. I'll put in some pictures and some footage that makes it easier to see in post. There's extra boxes and hints on the UV ink of this page. So this crossword is much larger than it looks on paper. And that's a really cool thing. But when you fill all those out, it's not like it's lore, it's just like a cool puzzle you can do. And I have tried, not only do none of these answers actually say lore, but I was like, well, we have this grid of letters, what if I take the Foxy grid? So I literally took the Foxy grid, because I was like, look, we still don't have a great answer for the Foxy grid, nobody has a great answer for the Foxy grid. So I went and I was like, you know what, maybe, look, the book came out 7 years ago, but who knows? Maybe now, maybe finally, we have a real answer for the Foxy grid. It was actually just setting up a bait so we could, down the line, take the coordinates that we put them on the Foxy grid, but first we had to add the crossword. So I filled out the entire crossword in the top corner of this Foxy grid. Yeah, I got bullshit for that. I think I was just going crazy at that point. There was nothing there. But that's okay, because there is two pretty big pieces of lore I think are worth bringing up, and they're both found in the brochures. One of them is pretty definitive, and one of them is part definitive and part speculative. So let's just start with the clean, definitive piece of lore that I found in these brochures. These brochures kind of just say whatever. It's a lot of small tidbits about the franchise and even sometimes about the games, which is fitting for Ticket to Fun, but nothing immediately jumped out as important. Even the blacklight sections. A lot of the time when you're looking at things with the blacklight, you just kind of see the note again, but with like an additional thing or two. Like, it's nothing that's revealing any new information. For example, the pages that have a big picture of Bonnie or Chica, when you viewed, I don't know if this will show up on camera, I might have to put it in post, you just get another picture of Bonnie and Chica, but a little more scary. So there's nothing huge there. There are some cool things, like on the activities for all page, you see the gang, but when you blacklight, you see likely the children who possessed them, since we see them pretty short and all wearing the right masks. And like, that's cool and all, but we knew they were possessed, and this doesn't tell us anything about them besides the fact that, yeah, those are dead kids. I mean, I guess you could take this as a slight deconfirmation that the bullies from FNAF 4 are the MCI kids, because these are definitely too young to be those bullies, but no one really thinks that anyway. But there are two pages that do stand out as helpful. The first one being Party Wristbands, a page that goes over, well, party wristbands. It reads as follows. Along with food, games, and entertainment, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza also hosts birthday parties. All parties are catered by our Freddy Fazbear's Pizza kitchen, and goodie bags and balloons are complimentary. Additionally, all children attending parties at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza are provided with wristbands as a souvenir of their time at our establishment and to easily track party attendees. You should already have alarm bells ringing in your head. I did too. But when you blacklight this page, again, probably not going to show on camera, I'll put it in post, it shows you the sprite for Charlotte Emily, the same sprite we see in Security Puppet the night she's killed. The sprite from the minigame where she's wearing a wristband that allows the security puppet to track her outside of the building and find her body. This is a huge confirmation, because one of the biggest debates about the early deaths of the franchise is where Charlotte Emily is killed. We only have two instances that show us any context for Charlotte Emily's death: Give Cake to the Children and Security Puppet. Now, many people look to Security Puppet and assume, well, if the puppet was there, then this is probably a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, as we have no evidence to suggest that the puppet was ever at a Fredbear's. Which is fair, I guess, but there's no evidence to say that it wasn't at Fredbear's either. Not to mention, many people look at Give Cake to the Children, and while admittedly this is a very bare-bones game, it is showing a basic area with just a Freddy. And if the theory that the FNAF 6 location is built within Fredbear's is accurate, these buildings look pretty similar. So there was no great evidence to go in either direction, and nailing this down is important, because Charlotte Emily dies here, and that links to a lot of other things. For example, if you think that Midnight Motorist takes place after the death of Charlotte Emily, then this entire minigame is suddenly linked up with this death. And it's important for placement in general. We know almost definitively that the missing child incident took place in 1985 at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, but it didn't shut down for another year or so. So if Charlotte Emily was killed at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, you could feasibly place her before or after the MCI. But if she died at a Fredbear's Family Diner, we have no evidence that the restaurant stayed open after the bite of 83. In fact, we have counter evidence, since in FNAF 2, Ralph talks about Fredbear's as if it's been closed for a long time. But that game takes place in 87, which is only a year or so after Freddy's would have previously closed, which means that Fredbear's would have been closed for presumably a long time, even before the MCI. So if Charlotte died at a Fredbear's, then that would mean she would have died before the missing child incident. This is important. The location gives us more information for the time of her death. So this pamphlet page is directly telling us that these security wristbands were used at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza's locations, which would then link Charlotte's death to a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, not a Fredbear's Family Diner, meaning the earliest it could have taken place is in 1983. This is a massive lore confirmation, and one that I'll probably make an entire video discussing the ramifications of. But that is not the only piece of lore we got in this, because there's one other brochure that's very interesting. We get a note from one of the child patrons at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and it has something that we've never seen before: a child not getting killed by William Afton. It reads, "The games at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza are the best. My mom doesn't let me play video games at home, so I love playing them at Freddy's. My favorites are the Chica one and Midnight Motorist. Bonnie even helped me win one time. He wanted me to go into a dark closet for a special prize, but I had to go open presents. I love Freddy Fazbear's Pizza." Hey, this is an insane thing to give us. Like, this is actually pretty crazy. But it tells us one very important thing and then one maybe important thing. The huge thing here is the seeming lack of concern for the chosen victim of the MCI. It seems very random. William Afton went after Timmy, but we've never heard of the name Timmy related to the MCI otherwise. So clearly this isn't just something he failed and tried again at. This kid he tried to abduct and it did not work, which does debunk a good amount of theories related to the victims of the MCI. There are many theories that state that the victims were chosen specifically, not at random. Some of those theories being that it was the bullies of the crying child, some of them being it was the kids of the neighborhood for specific reasons. I've even heard one related to the founders of the company. But this is showing us that William Afton was just grabbing whichever children seemed most vulnerable. It wasn't necessarily premeditated, he just needed kids to either kill for his own sick reasons, or he was already doing remnant experiments and he was just getting the easiest targets. But there's one more detail here that I haven't mentioned yet. This isn't just a note, we get context for it. Letter from Timmy Douglas, age 8. And I swear, the name Timmy is important. I did some digging and I found a couple instances, but nothing seems definitive or even helpful. The main instances I found were in two places. One of the Fazbear Fright short stories, which okay, sure, and on the cake we see in Help Wanted 2. Now, for a moment, I thought I was brain blasting, because for a moment, I was thinking of the wrong name. In Help Wanted 2, we take out a cake that says Happy Birthday Jimmy, and we put in a cake that says Happy Birthday Timmy. Now this Jimmy name is kind of important. There's lots of sticky notes all throughout the Security Breach Pizzaplex all about Remember Jimmy. And it's not really clear exactly what that's referencing to, but I thought that was at least a link there, and maybe this links to Timmy Douglas, and maybe Timmy Douglas grew up and ended up working and it was this whole wraparound thing, but no. Jimmy is the sticky note name. Timmy is the name on the new cake. I don't know if that means anything. So I'm actually putting a question out to you. Does anybody know of a Timmy in this game? Because if we can link this note to any important character, that'd be such an aha moment. The idea of Timmy, who was going to be killed in the MCI and happened to survive, way later in life ends up thwarting whatever is currently going on. That could be a really fun story that they open up. I don't know. Or Timmy Douglas is just a cliche kid's name. I have no idea. So yeah, in summary, this is really cute. If you like collectibles, I recommend picking it up. As far as lore goes, there's a couple of pretty big drops, but nothing major. We're not getting any new names. We're not really getting any new information. We're getting some confirmations of some of the lore if you squint at it, which I think is about appropriate for something called Ticket to Fun. And we're getting a fun crossword puzzle that drove me crazy. But again, let me know if you can think of anything related to a name Timmy. I'm going crazy. In the meantime, if you want to see me go even more crazy, last week I talked about how FNAF World and Happiest Day aren't real at all. Or rather, they don't happen in the way we see them. You can find that video right here. If you want your fan art featured on the channel, make sure to share it with #ToastArt. A huge thank you to the best channel members, the Dough Risers. And until next time, as always, stay toasty, slices.